Now this is probably the sickest build I've made in a little while. Melee Necro with Synergized Poison Nova procs, and yeah, I don't use Corpse Explosion. Looking at the gear, our primary focus is the Poison Nova procs. We get that from Breath of the Dying and Andariel's Visage. So Breath of the Dying is a 50% chance to cast whenever you get a kill. Andariel's is a 15% chance when you get struck. So between these two, we're casting quite a bit of Poison Novas. And we are fully synergized in Poison Nova with our skills. So we've put 20 points into Poison Dagger and Poison Explosion because, as you can see here, Poison Nova gains bonus damage from those two abilities. So each of our Poison Novas does a fair amount of damage. In combination with the 3-piece Trangs and Bramble on our chest, we have a total of plus 69% poison skill damage and minus 25% enemy poison res. So this helps greatly with our proc damage. On the amulet, we have High Lords for more attack speed and deadly strike, Boots Gore Riders for some more physical damage, and on the rings, we're getting some more damage, more attack rating, filling some of the resists that we're missing, as well as some lifesteal, which is not honestly that bad. We're doing enough physical damage where the lifesteal does actually help us stay alive. And on swap, I have a Call to Arms with a Spirit, of course, for more life. And looking at the charms, this is really where you can fill some of those voids in the build. So beyond having your Torch, Annie, and Poison Sunder, here you want to fill things like your resistances, adding more faster hit recovery to hit certain breakpoints, to give yourself some more life, more attack rating, more max damage, things like that. You just want to fill it up. And for the Mercenary, I'm using an Act 3 Fire Mercenary for the enchant. You can see he has a level 40 enchant, which gives us plus 371% attack rating, which is actually massive. It helps me hit a lot of the mobs way more consistently. On his helm, he's using Flickering Flame for plus 3, and the Resist Fire Aura is quite nice. When he's nearby, I'm maxed on fire resists. Using a Hex Fire on the sword for another plus 3 fire skills, Skin of the Viper Magi for another plus 1, and Spirit on the shield for plus 2. I do intend on upgrading this mark even more. Ideally, I would swap out V Magi for an Enigma, so that would give an additional plus skill, but the primary use is that I could swap it onto my Necro and use that to teleport, so I could swap that interchangeably. This mark isn't meant to deal any damage, he's really only there for enchant. So even if he dies in combat, as long as I'm buffed, that's fine because it lasts for 18 minutes, which is insane. Now there are 2 breakpoints we want to aim for, that's attack speed and faster hit recovery. I currently have 130% increased attack speed. I had to socket in 2 15% increased attack speed jewels, one into my helm and one into my shield, which gets us past the 117 increased attack speed breakpoint, so we have 2.27 attacks per second, and that's only 1 breakpoint off the maximum you can get on Necro, so it feels quite good when you're out there swinging. Also, with faster hit recovery, the base gear gives us 50%, which brings us to an 8-frame faster hit recovery, but we can increase that by adding FHR on our charms. So I'm currently at a 7-frame with 62%. That can be increased more, we would just need to add more charms into our inventory. Looking at the stats, I have just enough strength to equip my gear. If anything, I probably have a bit more than I need. And a ton of dexterity. I pumped in kind of just a random amount of dex to increase my attack rating. Realistically, I could probably put less points in as I optimize my charms, but I think it's fine for now. This also allows us to hit max block, which you could argue if that's a good thing or not. I think it's fine. It does give you more survivability. However, you will notice the hit recovery animations are pretty brutal on Necro. So some people would argue you don't want max block. However, in this case, I think it's fine. And any remaining point I've just dumped into vitality. Now looking at the skills, we have a lot to play with on Necro because we don't have any skills that are synergizing with our melee attacks, so we can be a bit creative here. Beyond maxing Poison Dagger and Poison Explosion for the Nova procs, I've put some points into Amplify Damage, and I've only put enough to increase the radius where it feels comfortable when I'm in combat. Note, with Amplify Damage, the more points you put in does not increase the damage taken, it only increases the radius. So I think I put about 8 or 9 points into this where it felt good. All of my remaining points are in the summoning tree. So I'm using a Blood Golem, which I've maxed 20 points into Blood Golem, as well as 20 points into Golem Mastery, with 1 in summon resist, and every other point goes into Fire Golem. Blood Golem gains additional damage per level with Fire Golem, which in turn increases the lifesteal that he returns to us. So this Blood Golem, in combination with our surprising amount of lifesteal, we can actually survive in combat quite nicely. The Blood Golem also synergizes off of the Thorns aura on our Bramble. And you'll see the Thorns on the Blood Golem alone can pretty much clear areas, in players 1 at least. So here's some gameplay, and you'll see to start, my chance to hit one of these Enslaved is 60%. Very quickly my Merc will buff me with enchants, and that jumps up to 90% hit chance. And here I'm just letting the Blood Golem take hits, and you'll see how effective the Thorns aura actually is. He just kind of clears areas, so for any spot that's a bit too dicey for you, you can just let your Blood Golem do the work. But once we actually start swinging, you'll see we're getting a bunch of Nova Procs coming off here, drop that amplified damage, and just start swinging. In certain areas, depending on the enemy's poison res, it just kind of snowballs and everything just dies. Now, if you really want to have some fun, jump over to Act 1 and find a bunch of Fallen and just kill one, run around, and watch everything die. This makes this build quite efficient if you're farming areas like pits or really anything in Act 1. You can kind of just run around and the Novas do the work for you. Now, once you're fighting in higher acts like Act 5 and Act 4, you know, you will run into a few more issues, but you can see the Nova Procs are still going off and still clearing that backline. Now, sometimes you'll get lucky in certain maps where it'll spawn a bunch of tiny little guys. Generally, if you have big packs of small creatures with small health pools, the Nova just kind of snowballs, and that's when it really excels. So sometimes when you're clearing a map, it just kind of works, and other times it ends up being a bit slower and your Nova doesn't go off as much as you'd like. Now, this gives you an idea of clear speed and Chaos. Of course, Chaos is a bit tricky because of all the debuffs that are cast on you, but in Players 1, it still kind of works. Now, of course, you can make your life way easier and just cast Corpse Explosion. But honestly, fuck that shit. Or at least when you're making a YouTube video. Yeah, I never use Corpse Explosion. But honestly, you don't really need it. Now, taking out Diablo here, this is again Players 1. It's slow, but it works, and he does eventually die. You can kind of beat the system. If you can get him to start attacking your Blood Golem, Diablo will start hitting himself for massive damage with the Thorns aura. Although, I sometimes struggle to have him actually target the Blood Golem. Is there a trick to that? If so, please let me know in the comments. I'm curious. I think there's a way around that aggro system. I did also kill Uber Diablo. He did kill me once, but here's the final little bit of it. And yeah, we got an Annie with the melee Necro. I'm kind of shocked I was able to kill Uber Diablo, to be honest. And that's pretty much it. Thanks again so much for watching. I appreciate all you guys. Let me know how you would improve this build or what changes I can make. There's honestly a ton of variations that I was playing with that I may even show again in the future. Out of Troy, catch you later, peace late.